Hello there, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Football Manager Therapy. I am your host, Rich Owens, and joining me this week, we're looking just a little bit FMTeam deficient. We're Callumless, we're Kevless. We've got a Jeb though. We've got a Jeb. Jeb's here. How are you this morning, my friend?
I'm not so bad. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, though. Wake up. Sorry. just put it out there.
Yeah, it's
force
of habit.
I know, exactly. I know we're recording in the morning.
It's just force of habit. I'm just used to saying good morning, and I'm not going to change. And we're not going to redo the intro. I've said good morning. I'm standing by it.
No, Kevin. No. Good morning, because you're listening to this in the morning at 8 a.m, because that's when it comes out. And if you're not,
absolutely are.
You're late. All right. Where have you been? Anyway. Thanks for hitting us 300 subscribers this week. Keep subscribing, keep liking all those things. It's great. Yeah, we've hit it. We're there. But anyway, you asked how I am. Yeah, I'm all right. We watched the World Cup final this morning. It was a disappointment. There wasn't really a lot else to say. Spain were good at wasting time. But yeah.
They really are. Yeah, it was a masterclass in game management. Not necessarily football, but definitely game management. Very high level. Very high level of that.
I jokingly said about Greenwood when she had the head bandage. I was just like, how long before they mentioned Terry Butcher? And then I looked at Twitter and everyone was mentioning Terry Butcher. It's like, it's a Terry Butcher moment. It wasn't. Sadly, it wasn't.
It wasn't. Nowhere near enough bleeding. Nowhere near enough. No,
exactly.
There are levels to it. It's like the Mutter scale, but for football. There you go. We're 2 minutes into the podcast, and there's a really weird Japanese wrestling reference. You're welcome, Football Manager fans. Oh, there you go. They just I feel like they've left us to it. I feel like we've been left to just do a podcast this week, and there's no Kev here to keep it on the tracks.
Oh, so no, it's fine. Kev always keeps it on the tracks anyway, so it's fine. There's nothing going to go wrong here at all. So it's
everything's going to be absolutely fine this week. Everything's going to be absolutely fine. Although I'm going to start by throwing a massive curveball. Oh, the biggest curveball of all the curveballs. It's gone.
Where's it gone?
Inaccurate throwing. That was my problem. Okay. But I've thrown it regardless. The curveball has been thrown because it's just the two of us this week, Jeb. It's just me and you. Well, there's no such thing as just me and you. It's me and you. And I thought, what would be nice? Because, there was that time that you did it to me, and there was that time I did it to Kev, and now I'm going to do it to you. We're abandoning the Football Manager Therapy format. We're not going to save updates. We're not going to be talking about all the other things we normally talk about. I want to talk about Jebaroo. I want to talk about you. No. Jebaroo, the human being. Question one, I assume you are a human being.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. The interview's off.
I've done those checks.
My research was impeccable, as you can probably tell. It was absolutely superb. I want to get to know you, if I'm honest with you, pal. Because, you took a little hiatus from pod a few months ago due to work commitments, and then ironically you just spent more time on it than you had done previously, which was lovely. really enjoyed that. We just kept giving him the injections. It was just give injection to get through the next podcast, and he was going to be out for longer. We just kept doing that and kept doing
exactly.
That.
We're going to put you on hiatus, but actually you're going to be the entire back four for this week because there's nobody else available.
It's just going to be you. It's like when you see the little box pop up, it's like Jebaroo is jaded and in need of a rest, and we go, Sure he is. He'll play through. He'll be absolutely fine, and nothing ever bad has ever happened when those boxes pop up on Football Manager, as is my understanding of the game. That's a lie. Bad things happen all the time. That they want to leave. Everyone goes. It upsets everybody. But we're not going to upset anybody today. We're going to talk about you, Jeff. We're going to talk about you, the human being, the person, the enigma, the man, the myth, the legend that is Jebaroo. I suppose it's one of those things. It's a really cliche question. What was your first Football Manager experience? Because we all know everyone has played the game to death. I guess the question I have for you, the first thing I'd like to know is kind of what drew you towards kind of the content creation side of Football Manager?
Content creation kind of came through jobs, I guess. Like there was a few YouTubers that I used to watch back in the day. This like 8 years ago. But then I started working for Insomnia Gaming Festival 8 years ago, actually. Is it 8? Yeah, it's 8 years ago. So I started working for them and obviously opened my eyes up to content creation, esports, all those type of things. Before that, I was actually working in pub industry, Ran a quite successful pub in Birmingham. Before that, I used to run bars at stadiums. So Edgbaston for 4 years of my life, Sheffield United for 5 years of my life, and then all around the country at various others. Sorry, Rich, but yeah, that's why there's a little close affinity with Sheffield United. Unfortunately, yeah, like I said, I don't think they're going to survive this season. But yeah, it was those things. So I was working my way around, and Football Manager was always present. It's always been present in my life in the background. Drive me to content creation. I think it was. I did a few streams, tried to do it off a laptop, didn't work, and then I've actually got into the broadcast side of things in my actual job as well. So it's upgrading various things and I always get obsessed by tech and buying things, and disposable income is probably the most dangerous thing that I have, because I just buy something new and shiny when I do it, which is nice to be able to afford those things. But yeah, it got the content creation, I think, late 2010, started to watch a little bit more, put out a couple of streams myself. They weren't the best, they weren't great, and it's just started to develop more and more. And I think it's the more interest on it, like I'm obviously doing the esports side of things and now doing the broadcast side of things, it's that level of quality I want to sometimes bring to my streams, which actually I don't pay that much attention to my streams. I paid a little bit of attention yesterday to them because I made some new alerts rather than just using the same scuffed ones that I've used for 2-3 years. It was like adding those extra bits. But like the playoffs, I'll spend like 4 days preparing a playoffs broadcast, or preparing a playoffs like in total. Like I'll be doing 4 days worth of prep on them, and it's that level of content creation that I start to look at a little bit more. It's like how people do stuff. There's some amazing, like Zealand's got his army of editors, Lelujo as well. His videos are fantastic just because of how well edited they are, and then obviously documented as well. Like I know he does some of his own, but then he's got Proudy and then other people helping him out. And it's watching those, and it's how you aspire to be those. But then I think you watch all them, and you watch all the fancy things that they do on the thingy. But then you'll watch someone like Kev, and Kev's got 4 scenes. He's got 4 scenes. He's got a just chatting screen at the start. He's got a be right back screen. He's got a starting soon screen, and then he's got his game screen. That's all he has. And I love Kev to pieces, and the reason I love having him on in the afternoon is because his streams are like nobody else's. I'm probably taking this question completely off kilter, but it's nice to see the variety like of streamers out there, and it's how you find your own little niche in there. Like mine is, I don't know where that is on that side of things. I think there's obviously a very dour comedy and very dry as much as I can bring to it. I get to do that a little bit with hosting, which is something that I never thought I'd be doing, but I've really enjoyed it, and I've kind of taken to it quite nicely. Path to the Playoffs is my own thing now, and we do stupid things on it because I want to do stupid things. I like to just and the best part is, and I think you were part of it on the last one, was I don't tell any of the pundits what I'm going to do to them, so it just comes by surprise. So we had the playoffs kitchen where I said, bring a thing. You've probably still got the ladle on your desk somewhere. You finally removed
no, that it took about a month before the ladle made it. Yeah, the ladle made its way back down to the kitchen, which was inspired by my wife asking, "Where's my ladle?" So
yes, probably where's my ladle? We're having soup tonight. It's really hard with this small spoon. But
So that genuinely, that was.
And it's finding those little extra niches that we can add to things, and that's where I want to content creation itself. Like YouTube, I'll probably put some shorts on there, but that's probably about it. That's as far as I'll go. Long form content that way, and I want to stream more, but just very busy, as you already alluded to.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest issues, isn't it? You know, it's time. Time is it's the most valuable commodity when it comes to anything like this, because if you've got an abundance of it, you can literally you can use it to your advantage. You can, like I said, spending a couple of hours yesterday just updating some of your sound effects, just anything that it's just having the ability to take a bit of time out of your day to be able to do that. That's something that if you don't have it, you really do miss it. You know, I've never been blessed with a huge amount of spare time. Especially, you know, with kids and family and everything else that's going on. You don't have those hours to spend and, you know, just really invest that time into making something consistently better. I mean, in terms of, when you look at different people's streams, I mean, you've touched upon a few names there. People like, people like Zealand when it comes to his content with the editing, especially with the YouTube side of things. When you look at like Kev, like say the man he's got 4 scenes. I now have 5, so you know I'm flying. absolutely flying in terms of my creation. What I would say when it comes to an actual setup and it comes to the actual tech side of things, I think yours is absolutely spectacular. Watching the live stream a few weeks ago of that Europa Conference League final, you've got multiple camera angles, you've got light shows going on in the back. Like it's absolutely incredible. Is that something that, like, because as you said, and I suppose we'll talk more in detail about this when we start to talk about kind of, you know, work and life outside of content creation and Football Manager. But because you kind of work in that industry and you are, you know, is that so when you see a new piece of kit or you see something new, you go, right, I have to incorporate that into my setup somehow? Or is it just more of a, I'm going to buy it and then we'll see what we can do with it afterwards?
I think there's some of it, like the webcam side of things. I've just basically recycled the webcams that I've had. And it's like, so my first webcam is now the camera that I put on the cat when he or she are here, or on the side of my face, or if somebody goes, oh, what does your setup look like? I'll just point the camera. It's actually sat here. Look, come on, it's not going to stretch that far. It's here. Look, it's just there for the audio listeners. But yeah, so we have that one, and then I have another one up in the ceiling that I just have an overview of the room, which, to be fair, it just goes as my starting scene, because I don't know if I'm just scared of using eBay and I don't need to recycle the money. Same with Facebook Marketplace. I saw a brilliant meme of Facebook Marketplace the other day, which was it's completely off topic, but it's somebody stood in a car park. It's like if Facebook Marketplace was real life, somebody stood in a car park and then somebody driving up to you and going, is this still available? And then they drive off, and that's it. And that actually sums up my Facebook Marketplace. That, or you put something for sale on Facebook Marketplace for like 50 quid and it goes, I've got £4.20. Is that enough? No, it's not. How about £4.30? No. Block. Like, yeah, every single time I've used it. And it's but yeah, it's recycling that tech that I've got. There's tech that's obviously borrowed from work. So we have a lot of, so I work for a broadcast company. We've exploded, like, in terms of size and stuff. So we buy all new pieces of kit. So some of this kit's just borrowed and it'll get taken to events when it's needed, etc. Otherwise, it's going to sit in the warehouse. So rather than sit in the warehouse, it sits on my desk and I can play about with the various things like the soundboards and the stream decks. And it's the shiny bits of kit. I've always been interested in newer things. It's like I said, I've got 3 monitors because I haven't sold any monitors on. it's those type of recycling. I've got a TV up here that hasn't been turned on probably for a year as well. I think that there's a level of stuff that I want to buy new tech and I want to see what it does, and then I can pass on whether it's good or bad to people. And it's like, I don't know, it's just shiny things. Disposable income, not having children so far might be the biggest thing. I think that's probably what it is. Once that hits, I mean, we'll see.
Oh yeah. It's the worst thing in the world. Just in terms of financially, you know, emotionally, no, I stand by it. I said what I said with my whole chest. My wife and I were literally having that conversation earlier. We started talking about kind of, you know, budgeting and finances, and we're like, oh, we're getting a bit short on money this month. It's like, well, we've had a little holiday and the kids have been in their summer activity clubs and doing all these different bits and pieces. And then she looked at me and she went, do you remember when we didn't have to worry about any of this? I was like, it was just easier. It was just an easier time. And I can guarantee you my house would be full of different pieces of it, just all sorts of nonsense, because you can't give somebody like me a budget, especially, you know, a comparatively big one. So I'll just spend this on what you want. I was like, that's a terrible idea because what I want is awful. So it's one of those nice things to be able to do. But again, in much in the same way that time is a valuable commodity, having somebody like a Jebaroo around is again in and of itself is a really, really useful thing to do, because, you know, there's a lot of people out there from, you know, in terms of, if you look at Football Manager content creation, you got a lot of people out there, you know, really talented streamers, but might not be the most technically astute people. And then you've got people like yourself, you've got people like Nerdphonic, who are, you know, incredibly knowledgeable, but also incredibly generous with your time as well. It's a really, really nice thing to have. Is that something that you kind of enjoy as much? You know, do you get the same level of enjoyment of, you know, helping somebody, you know, building a stream, or, you know, giving that advice? Do you get the same level of enjoyment from that you do for, you know, sorting things out for yourself?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's a few people that helped along the way. Obviously, Tony was the initial. How I met Tony was because I'm doing a stream tonight. I don't know what I'm doing. I borrowed this PC off my, what was it? His wife's driving instructor.
Mrs. J's wife's driving instructor. He's to blame. He's to blame for all of this.
Yeah, and it's just like you. Okay, fine, that's fine. So and it was setting him up, and I still remember he just had basic scenes and awful cameras. And like I said, it was just, you see the improvement. You see Tony streams, and like same with Tony as well, like Nerdphonic as well. Nerdphonic giving up his time. I think this week alone, I don't know if you saw where the Space's PC broke. So Nerdphonic went to his house and spent 2 days at his house diagnosing his PC and went, I can't get it working properly. Here's my PC. Use that because you're going to get more value out of using this for your content. You can just go to use his laptop, etc. And that's just amazing to see. Like, it was a real honor to meet Matt the other week at Slough, because we've traded back ideas and stuff like that. And I was going to originally help out on the showdown with some stuff, but times didn't align, and I ended up in the playoffs, and we'll see what happens. But it's nice to give back to the community in that way, and it's nice to help people along the way. There's people that will, the amount of random DMs I'll get off people who've sat in my channel for like a couple of minutes, or I've been sat in Kev's channel and they've come to me. It's really nice to see that I'm that go-to piece. I do have to apologize to them, because some of them I just don't have the time of the day to get back to them. But as much as I can, I'll lend a hand where we can. And I think it's important to help out that way. And I think it's the way the community's going, and all these new streamers are coming in still by the week. It's great. It's great to see like extra people coming in, and people who've like watched various people for years and years have gone, right, I'm going to give this a go now. And like I said, you might sit there with one view for the whole time, but if you're enjoying yourself, it doesn't matter. And like, I've never really been bothered by viewers too much. Sometimes, like for example, this week I had an average viewership on one of my streams for 4 hours of 0.6. So I didn't even have a full person watching me as an average viewer. Like, great. I feel really great about this. But then you'll come on another stream and you'll have 10 people sat in there and they'll be chatting all the time. Sometimes you can have 30 people sat in your stream and none of them are chatting. So it's getting the balance. It's, to be fair, I sometimes play the game offline, but playing the game on stream anyway, you just carry on, you enjoy it. It's a difficult balance to get. It's like the network game has been really fun as well, because you've always got 2 people to chat to the entire time during the network game. It doesn't matter if there's nobody in your chat or anything like that. And then, yeah, you just have a bit of fun with it. The network game has been a really nice thing to do this term around as well.
Yeah, I've had a brilliant time on the network game, because like you say, it's getting to, it's that social aspect of gaming, which is, again, is something I've always struggled to have, fit in time to do.
Yeah.
It's, Kev is very fortunate. Kev's talked about, he chatted about it when we had our conversation a few months ago. He's got siblings and they regularly play games together, a couple of nights a week. And again, I've never had that kind of group of friends that I've played with consistently online. A lot of my friends that I see regularly, my friends that are local to me, because I think my wife says, like, do you call them your internet friends or your real friends? What's that? I was like, no, everyone's my friend. Yeah. Some of my friends I live really close by to, some of my friends live really far away from. But my friends that I live close by with, we all met going to a LAN cafe back in the day. And they've always been PC gamers. I was always a console guy. So they would get together, they would play online together fairly frequently, but I didn't have any friends that played, I didn't have any friends on Xbox. So I'd play all these single, potential multiplayer games just on my own. So I've never had that kind of, consistent online kind of gameplay experience with people. So the network save for me has been brilliant fun, because again, like I said, sitting down, getting to chat to 2 of my friends every Monday night, and just playing a game that I really, really enjoy as well. It's a really, 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 it's a really healthy thing to do. Yeah. If you've got friends and you all play Football Manager and you're not doing this and you have the capacity to do it, I cannot recommend it enough. It's
for
brilliant fun.
It's been a strange one, because I've grown up with friends from my Xbox days. So we used to play pro clubs and Call of Duty, and I think Destiny was probably the biggest game that we all played together, and there was 7. I think there was 7 of us, so like somebody had to rotate out every now and then. It kind of worked out quite nicely, because if we were down one, we always had another one to come in, so it worked nicely when we were doing various things on it. And then I think they all moved over to Rainbow Six Siege, and it was 5 people, and I kind of got managed out. It was a little bit like I come in for some games, but this was just as I was starting on Insomnia stuff, so I kind of got managed out. But never really. I think I had like a CM Championship Manager 4 like network save with some friends over MSN Messenger. So you didn't even have a voice chat then. It was just an MSN group that you chat on. It was like, hurry up, press continue. Can you hurry up? Oh, wait for a minute. That's all the messages ever were. Or nudges. I mean, nudges in Discord would be great for some people. But yeah, you know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking about. You heard.
We know.
Anyway,
We know.
yeah,
we
yeah.
know. You know. We
Yeah.
all know.
Respond
We all
to
know.
that message, all right? Right. Anyway, but and that was probably about the only chance we got to play Championship Manager or Football Manager with friends and stuff. And I've still got friendship groups through like people that I worked with. So there's what's called the SBS, which was I think they're called the Skelly Bob Squad now, but it was originally called the I can't say it because Kev, I can feel Kev judging me, but the S Body Squad, you can understand. So it's people like with various like ailments and illnesses and stuff. I was like an honorary member. I'm quite healthy, luckily, and stuff like that. But it was led by a girl called Chloe, who I knew from the Insomnia days. And she built up a massive community of people, particularly during the pandemic, and they've all become like really close friends. We play games and stuff like that together. Taff, who I knew this is where it goes bizarre. So I knew Taff through a guy called Jesse, and then obviously Matt as well. And then Taff's become like one of my closest friends, and he's an amazing streamer to watch. He's he does all the stuff that he does. He does all the stuff for charity as well, and he's so creative with stuff, and it's amazing to see. I'm playing games with him, and then he's become friends with Scroobius Pip, and then he plays like PUBG with Scroobius Pip, and then there's a guy called B. Dolan in America. There's a guy called Cudder in Ireland, and then it's just another community of gamers that I'll sometimes jump in and play games with. And I've always had that. That's quite nice, but it's weird circles of friends where they all start crossing over. There's a Canadian guy called Brat. He's a partner on Twitch. It's not streamed for a while. He didn't really know football until last year, and he became an Arsenal fan. And he was like, he enjoyed it, and he'd messed me about Liverpool games. He's now going to his local Canadian Premier League team every week, like going to watch them. And he jumped in. He goes, "This looks really fun, Football Manager." Just like, how do we get into it? And it's really nice to see like all these little communities like have little crossover points, and it's a nice. It's just quite nice sometimes. There's obviously horrible people on the internet. There's so many wonderful people, and I think that's what I enjoy the most. Is like I can go onto Twitch and one of my friends will be streaming, or one of the people that I regard as a friend is streaming. They might regard me as, oh, it's that beardy bloke again. He's back again. Oh, God. But yeah. Yes. So that's where that one's gone. But then coming back to it, the network game, this is the first time I played Football Manager as a network game, like in 20 years. Now, if you're good at maths, I'm about to reveal something, and I've been lying to everybody on the internet for years. Rich, I'm not 24 years old. I'm actually 38. I know.
What?
Yeah. And this has been bugging me for like years. I've been telling everyone I've been 24. I don't know how people have worked out that I've been 24 for the last 4 years. But yeah, I'm actually 38. My first Football Manager experience was Championship Manager 2 on an Eidos Interactive Classic disc that you bought from HMV for $9.99. That was my first experience. I can't remember I managed somebody bizarre. Might have just been Liverpool. It's probably Liverpool. It was quite bizarre around those days anyway. Michael Thomas was in the squad and Matt Walters. But yeah, that's where the obsession started, and it just built and built. The amount of saves that I did with mates in a room as well, where you take turns or you'd all jump on the PC and do your bits and then go into the game and stuff. There was loads of them that used to have with friends as well when I was younger. But yeah, I've got that big news off my finger. Yeah, I'm actually 38. I'm declaring it now. I'm not.
See, that's. I mean, but first, I'm very proud of you, mate, for having the courage to share that with us. I'm also now really, really annoyed at you because you've been telling people you're 24 forever. I've been telling people I'm 24, and now I can't pretend I'm 24 either, which is really frustrating.
Sorry.
Yeah, you've done some news, but you've also taken me down with you there. So, cheers, mate. It's really kind of you. I appreciate that enormously. I can see why they ousted you for Rainbow Six now. I really can. Yeah. I can see where that came from.
But we're lucky because the network saves tomorrow, so we've got one more day of it, and then the podcast, and then the truth comes out, so it's fine. So
I think tomorrow night we really lean into it tomorrow night. Yeah. Oh my goodness, constantly 24. Forever 24. That's a brand. You are right. It's those crossovers of friends, I think, that you've kind of alluded to there, that is really, really lovely. I mean, one of the things that before we'd met, obviously you've mentioned Matt, former FMT host, that Matt. He mentioned your name to me. He was one of the first. Yours was one of the first kind of names he mentioned to when we started talking kind of about the wider kind of world of Football Manager or content or people that are out there. He was like, oh yeah, if you ever get the chance to meet a guy called Jebaroo, he's my mate. He's sound. And Matt's one of those people that I'm very, very, when it comes to people, normally he's right. Like his opinions of people, it's not very often Matt gets it wrong. So if Matt, it's almost like the Matt Richards seal of approval. It's like, yeah, this is Jebaroo. He's really sound. You're like, okay, that's all I needed. That is all I needed. That's absolutely fine. And then it's the Taff and Scroobius Pip things, bonkers as well, isn't it? I love it. I love it so much. Again, because it's those weird crossovers of people. Matt used to host a podcast, and regularly appearing on that podcast with him was Scroobius Pip. So I was like, well, that's really cool. Matt knows Scroobius Pip. That's awesome. And then 18 months later, Taff is now playing, PUBG with him. I'm like, Matt, did you set that up? And he's like, nope, it's just completely coincidental.
Exactly.
Of course it is. Of course it is. Successful British rapper Scroobius Pip is mates with two people. Of course he is.
It's like I have to process a couple of times because there's somebody who's like on that side of things, so out of the Football Manager world. Again, well, it is out of the Football Manager world. There's she's a mod in most people's chats, but then she also streams herself as well, called Llama. And obviously, I know a wonderful streamer already called Llama, but then there's this other Llama who's also almost just as wonderful, and she's constantly in Scroobius Pips, in Taff streams, and all those people as well. So it's that crossover. I think they need to have a battle over which one gets the actual Llama name, though, because
exactly, the Llama off.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see how that goes, but yeah.
Exactly. It's the way it should be. It's the way it should be. You've talked quite a lot about things like Insomnia Gaming Festival. Obviously, your job as well, the company that you work for. I guess my next question, I'll kind of fill some people in. Because obviously, you mentioned earlier before you kind of worked in that industry, you're running bars, running kind of bars and event spaces, and then like a really good one in Birmingham. How did that transition from kind of bar life to a completely different industry kind of happen? Because, I worked in the service industry myself for years and years and years. I worked in restaurants, I worked in bars. Part of my job used to be traveling around the country, teaching people how to run bars in a chain restaurant called Bill's. Super exciting. It wasn't exciting at all. It was terrible. It was really, really long days and really, really cheap hotels. But getting out of that industry for some people is practically impossible. So some people just spend their entire working lives working in catering in some capacity. How did you get out, and kind of what was it that drew you to what it is that you do now?
It was an unfortunate set of circumstances as well. To start off with, I did an event management degree, so I have a degree in event management. But for my placement year, I did my placement year at Sheffield United as an assistant conference and banqueting manager, and then that led me on to doing just part-time work while I was at uni in Leeds, but my part-time job was in Sheffield. So I'd travel down pretty much every weekend for every match day and do the games there, and midweek because we're in the Championship then. So I was up and down there quite a lot. Became friends with a guy called Andy, who was he's a year younger than me, and he was working there, but he was super ambitious, and he went from like being a barman to a bar manager to running the entire thing. And like, he's a really close friend. He was actually on the Circle a few years ago, which was brilliant. Like, everyone got to know who Andy was. And so I carried on working there, and then circumstance happened and I moved along to Edgbaston and worked there. And Andy came in as a general manager there, which was quite funny. He was just like, "You just following me around?" He was just like, "Well, no, I've been asked to come and help as well." So okay, fair enough. So he's one of my best friends, and I've not seen him for a while. I need to sort that one out. But so he carried on there, and then I worked at Edgbaston for a while, and Edgbaston was great fun on cricket days. Like the match day, the build up to it was great. I mean, granted, it was a Champions Trophy in 2013. I worked 42 days straight, and I think I lost like 2 stone in those 42 days just because your diet was either you ate what was on the stands or in the various things, or you just didn't really eat at all and you survived off energy drinks. Naked smoothies, I seem to drink a lot of them. That's all. Like, I remember drinking a lot of one of them a day. I thought that'll get me through the day, and then eat whatever.
Is that the brand, or is that just being naked drinking?
Just being naked drinking a smoothie. Yeah,
fantastic. Yeah.
And so I ran all the bars at Edgbaston. So you went from like day to day where you'd have a conference on, you'd serve some orange juice and water, to serving beer to like £250,000 worth of beer to people, like making sure all that happens. So there's a lot of moving parts and doing things there. And I think there was a stage where it was a bit understaffed, and it got to a point where a bit understaffed, and I was cleaning the bin room for around the 5th or 6th time, like in a month, and I was like, why am I cleaning the bin room? Like I'm supposed to be like a senior manager here, and I'm cleaning the bin room. I was like, I can't be doing this. So I handed my notice in. Like, I didn't have any plans. I just handed my notice in. I went, I love all the people that I work with. I love the job. Like during the winter, it's pretty dull. Like Christmas parties can only be fun for so long. And I was just, so I handed my notice in. And then this craft beer job came up. I applied for that, got that, and opened this craft beer bar in the centre of Birmingham called Pure Craft Bar and Kitchen. It was called Pure Bar back in the day. Really nice, really successful. I still go back there. Still nice to go back. And I went on holiday for my 30th birthday. I'm not 24, remember. So this is 8 years ago. And I went on holiday. And before I went on holiday, I just got a message off one of my friends going, have you heard the news? I was like, what news? He goes, apparently you're being replaced. And this was so I spent the entire holiday going, what? And I asked my CEO outright, am I being replaced? He goes, no, just ignore that. We'll see you when you get back on holiday. And of course, sat the whole holiday just like, why are you like breathing into a brown paper bag for the entire holiday? It was like, well, because I think I might be going back to no job. I was like, okay. So I got back, and there was basically a new guy stood at the bar. I was like, hi. He goes, hi, I'm Matt. I'm taking over here. I was like, cool. Like the worst part is the CEO, he was running late that day. So he wanted to obviously greet me before I came through the door to tell me everything that was going on. But instead, I met this Matt. It was a lovely guy and all things. And then the guy came along, the guy who was a manager, and he just said, so yeah, we've replaced you with Matt, and you're going to move into a regional role where you look after the events and all the beer side of the business. I was like, okay, that's cool. We've only got one bar though. How's this regional?
It's within a region.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So it was a nice idea for a role, and they were opening a new bar in Nottingham, and I rang Andy like afterwards. I was just like, you know a little bit more. Where am I in employment law? And he goes, have a word with this person, see what they say. And I didn't really have anything because it was less than 2 years into the job. So carried on, moved around, got the events going, got like there. We won best beer bar in the country, like at the pub awards. It was amazing. So that was a nice way, and it was actually a really nice way to sign off because that was my last day. We picked up the award. I did a Shawn Michaels pose with the award ceremony full. Great. And then Andy had moved on, so he'd moved on to the Rico, and the Rico had taken on Insomnia Gaming Festival, and they hosted that there for 4 or 5 events. And then they were rapidly expanding. They were going to move to the NEC, and it was like, oh, we need some more like logic-based heads because we've basically gone the whole time just hiring volunteers. So they've gone, oh, you're a really good volunteer. You're now in charge of this. And it kind of started to break a little bit. So I ended up there, and that was 4 years of my life doing the gaming festival. And it was amazing. Like we went to the NEC. Went to one stage at the NEC where we had 80,000 people coming through. I was running 4 separate events. One of the things I went to uni for, I went to run music festivals. I ran a music festival at Insomnia. Like I had Chasing Status, Years and Years were at Insomnia. You could pay £11 for that ticket. People didn't believe it, so they didn't buy the ticket. It was like, honestly, there was that when they actually looked at the perception, they just went, £11? Nah, that's not true, is it? And yeah, that's what happened. And I got to meet amazing people that I got to work with, got to meet various creators, and it was nice. And it was a strange move, and I finally moved into event management, but it was exactly the same, similar to where I was at Edgbaston and at Pure Bar. It's like applying logic to those things. Like that's my brain is logic based. I am not overly skilled at many things, but if you apply it, you go, right, well, how does this work? Oh yeah, why not try it this way? And it's looking for those. That's how my brain works. I try to look for alternatives, ways to make things easier, ways to make things easier for everyone else. So we ended up there, and then Game went and bought a bar. So Game used to own Insomnia Game Festival. It's gone independent now. But yeah, they went and bought a bar in Nottingham. And they got me to mystery shop it. And I was like, okay. And it was in a sorry state. And they bought the bar. The bar had gone bankrupt. So it was a gaming bar. The bar had gone bankrupt. So they bought it from bankruptcy, then hired the 2 people who had taken it into bankruptcy to run it. And it wasn't going very well for them, apparently. I was like, I wonder why that could be. So I went to there. They moved me to Nottingham. And then I'm now here for 6 years later. The gaming bar, it just didn't get any backing from Game. It wasn't the direction they wanted to go. They didn't want to promote an alcohol internet cafe, which, if you go to places like Platform, Loading Bar, Pixel Bar in Manchester, it's a very good model of a way of doing things, but Game just won't put me back into it. So I was made redundant from that, and I moved on to ESL, into esports. I met the guys that I'm currently working with there. I went freelance for a bit, got a lot of nice freelance work, pandemic hit, and then I had to go work in Asda, which is where I suggested to Matt when chatting to him about Football Manager, like, you should do a podcast about Football Manager, and it was literally a week before the birth of this this podcast. Yeah. So it was nice to like see this come to fruition. Also, the content creation, all the people that I met, and that's kind of like my journey of where I came to then. And then I think just like second year pandemic, I'd worked with the company I work for now, Hiviz, on a project at Wembley for ESL, and Nick just said, I need someone to help like move the business along and help us like project manage stuff rather than everything's in my head. I need somebody to be the filter and get everything people. And that's what I do now. I'm not in any way a talented director, producer, vision mixer, or anything along those lines. I am literally the person who puts the people in the places and then goes, right, there we go, let's go with this, and I'll come up with ideas for producing or various things, and I make sure I just look after the crew really more than anything else. So like the playoffs is literally me being a bit of a fraud. I'm not a vision mixer, but I built a whole show, and like they all turn their nose at me doing it on OBS because I use professional systems. But I was like, I can't do that in my house. Like, I've got time to learn these new things. This is where we are. So that's how I got to the journey of where I am in the company and stuff. And we've like I said, we've exploded. We picked up this massive. So we picked up Insomnia, which was quite funny. So I've now done 5 years at Insomnia, where we do the esports stage, or 5 shows, should I say, not 5 years. We do all the esports stage and provide cameras everywhere else, and then any extra consultancy bits that they do. So that's quite nice to go back there and be at the show and see all the people that are familiar. But then also just, I think the last one was amazing because there were so many FM creators that went to it. It was just like family meeting up, and there was a nice little meetup, community meetup. There was obviously the FM show was on one of the stages as well. And that's been amazing. And then seeing all these other people that I've met through all these other games and all these other Insomnia, like if you've never been, go find a friend, go to it. Like you're not going to go and see like brand new games. Well, actually, maybe the next one you do, but it's just a nice meetup, nice little community meetup. You can just arrange a meetup up there, and you'll meet friends of friends of friends of friends, and it's really lovely. What was the question? Yeah, so our company, I was away in Berlin for most of this year, and that's because we picked up Valorant Champions Tour in Europe. We provide all the cameras and all the infrastructure, so all the cabling and how all the video gets out to what you see on Twitch. That's what we provided. I was unit manager, so there wasn't a lot for me to do unless stuff was going wrong. So that was great, and it got me to interact with a load of wonderful people. We had an amazing crew. But the Valorant Champions Tour is effectively like the Champions League of Valorant. So they had 8 teams, and they all played their tournament over 8 weeks there, and then they did the finals, and then they did like the championship. They did their finals there as well. So we were there for 4 months, and currently, I think tonight is the final of the final. So where the Americas and the Asian leagues come in. But that is massive for us. For us, we're quite a small company. We picked up one of the biggest esports like gigs in the world that was available. So that was eye-opening. Berlin, I'd love to see more of it, but sadly my shifts were usually midday till midnight. So it was like, get up, go to work, get up, go to work. A few nice days out. And then they kept on putting shifts on when I was going to go see like I was supposed to go to the Hertha Berlin game where they got relegated, but I missed out on it, which is probably for the best, but you know.
Maybe they would have seen you in the stands and go, right, he's tall, get him up front the last 10 minutes, and then you could have changed history. But
Probably
it's unlikely. It doesn't happen often at professional football games.
They would have asked my real age, and then they've gone, "Oh, no, you passed it now." Sorry.
He's how old? You know what? I'm glad that you have ended up where you are, because of that journey means we get to hang out all the time. It's the long and the short of it for me, and I'm a big fan of that. You've touched upon the playoffs there. And I think it would be impossible to kind of sit and have this conversation with you without talking about the FM playoffs. You are, of course, now one of the 4 owners of the competition, which is pretty cool. I mean, so you've alluded, you build it backstage. You mentioned earlier in our chat, your favorite thing is the path to the playoffs. That's your baby. That's your part of it now. I've been involved in quite a few of those with you. And of all I've done most when it comes to the FM playoffs. I've done most bits and pieces. I've taken part. I've been in the path of the playoffs. I've filled in the actual playoffs themselves for Tony once, which went really, really well. And I won't take any further questions on it. I've done panel stuff. I've been on the drafts and crafts. Path of the playoffs is arguably one of my favorite things to be on, because it's now especially it's very much yours. And having spent time around you, through podcasting, just in general, it feels like it's very, very Jebaroo. How have you kind of got it? Yeah, are you happy with where it is at the moment? And if you are, how have you got it there?
Reasonably happy, as most people will know, is like when they ask me how the shows went. It went all right. That's how I'll say, because there'll be things that I'm annoyed. There's things where I press the button wrong, or I've not prepped something properly, or I've made a spelling mistake, or there's been a transition where it's not worked. Like I get those minutiae, and it's how we improve those things going on. I mean, like the last playoffs. So speaking of like last week, well done, Steak Bake, amazing work. Can now shout that out. We went a little bit earlier, and the playoffs were a lot of fun with Cleary last time out. But like one of the simplest mistakes was, and this is, I think, I don't think many. I think I said about it on my stream this week, but. During the first 2 games of the playoffs, you probably noticed the stream was stuttering just a slight amount. What was happening? My CPU was running at 95% at that stage. And I was sat there going, what the hell is going on? I was closing down as much as I could in the background that I could physically do before it started to affect the broadcast. And I was like, right, we're okay there. And let's close everything down. Why is it doing? And what had happened? When I'd switched from the playoffs to my own streams, so switched to scene collection in OBS. OBS had one of those weird faults, so I looked it up on the internet. I went, turn this on and turn it back on again. Turn this off. Yeah, turn this on and then turn it on again. Yeah, and then turn it on again. No, turn this off and then turn it back on again. So I turned the thing off, which I think was hardware acceleration, and I'd not turned it back on again. And luckily, I'd realised that this was what the problem was. So I sat there, I was like, Tony, just before you go, get them guys to talk about this. Before we go, we need to take a break. We've got to take this break, because honestly, I was just like, I don't know what to like. I couldn't actually watch the broadcast because it was stuttering that much on my PC. But I had my phone open. I was like, it's fine. Like, it's fine on the broadcast. But one more thing loaded on this, and my PC is just going to go pop. Not to the extent of where it went pop when the power went for 2 hours. Like that was. I honestly thought that was my PC as well doing that, but then I realized there was no lights on anywhere else. So yeah, the stress of that was crazy. And then we reset it and everything was fine. It was just like, there we are, fine now, like, we're okay. But past it, so I am like the minutiae, like little things like that. That's annoyed me. Like I've ruined 2 games worth of gameplay, even though it looks perfectly fine if you watch it back. And it's missing out little things, like I couldn't get the scores going because I couldn't actually get to do the edits in the background that I need to do. But for the pass to the playoffs, it's adding those extra bits and it's planning ahead. And it's, like I said, it's the competitors make all the drama. We've just got to make it a bit of entertainment around it as well. That pre-show is where we get to show off like the pundits and their power and their knowledge and stuff like that. Like Dupe, I think we had on ours, and it was amazing. His level of detail is brilliant. And his humor's great as well. Like some of the stuff that he says before we go online is just, oh god, how's this going to go? It's awful. Granted, he's usually naked for most of that as well, just like behind the camera.
Yeah.
So it's one of those. But yeah, I think I want to add extra bits every single time, and I want to add something new to each broadcast, so we slowly build up to like an amazing thing. And I think it's how we bring some of those esports elements into it as well. Do we do, like, I'm not saying we did the promos thing, and they were very cheesy, and some people just can't do that type of thing as well. Like, I think there's a few like memorable ones that were done. I think Stinger's done some amazing promo videos where it's just a quick 50 seconds, doesn't say any words, but it's loads of visuals and stuff. Zanko, who actually he was doing a stream last night, and I remembered. Do you remember his promo video where it was just him doing the national anthem for Slovenia for a minute?
Yes.
And that was it. And it was always like, can you do a promo video that's 25 seconds long? And Zanko sent us a 2-minute video of him stood up for the national anthem. I can't cut this now because it's a national anthem. Like, people in Slovenia might come after me for doing it. There might be something illegal about it. So it's those bits, but I guess we do guided like things. So it's almost like, do we do a Q&A with all the players and they all have to answer the same questions or something along those lines that we can add to it. But then it's time and it's editing and various things. So it's stuff to make it simple but good. But it's great to see like the development of all these streamers that have come in. If you look at the likes of Salty B, he was a 2-person streamer when we brought him in. He now streams quite regularly. He was on the panel last time, did an amazing job on the panel. Callum was pretty brand new, never drafted before, properly done a COSA Cup here and there. But he came in, and now look at him now with all of his amazing goal sound alerts that somebody's made for him for one particular player called Declan Moore. But yeah, it's great to see like the development. Like, it's same with the reason I came into the playoffs was I don't know how it happened, and I think me and Nerdphonic, it was when me and Nerdphonic were actually chatting, we both watched when somehow Tony got handed the reins to run the playoffs, like on his driver's instructors before he got his new PC as well. So it was on his driver's instructor's PC, and the whole show just completely stuttered. You couldn't see any of the games, you couldn't see any of the pundits, it just wasn't working. And I think got handed to somebody else, and then Tony's PC just never really recovered. And like, I think that was the first bit was, right, Tony needs a new PC, we'll get that bit sorted. And then it was just like, right, Tony, how do me and you getting into this? And we get off, granted we're using it now, how do we get off Melon and make an actual production? And that's kind of where it's gone. And it was a lot of work to start off with. There's a lot of graphical systems that I built in the background that now reasonably automated. And it's one of my things to do in between is to sort out all my folders because they are such a mess. I've got so many like Photoshop files and then random websites, which is how I build all my graphics through HTML. But I don't know what any of them do anyway. And I keep opening them and go, no, that's not the one. Why is it on this one? Where is it? And I'm just trying to find it. So it's getting those bits in order. But I think the way it's gone and the average viewers and the people that were attracted, Adam Cleary was, and I don't know if you're similar, I listened to a lot of What Culture during the pandemic. I know there's people who listen to What Culture, people listen to Cultaholic and that, but What Culture I just listened to quite a lot. And I always used to love when Cleary was on because he's just that little bit off kilter. And granted, he might not even watch the wrestling, so he just gets updated, he finds out what happens, like as they're telling him on the podcast, so that's even better. But now he's doing 442 content. Actually, his content's really good. His tactical analysis of some stuff's really good as well. And he does it with a Sabutio pitch, which is just a little bit cheesy, but also perfect at the same time. So getting him in last week, and we tried to get him to stream, and he started. I got him to do a test stream with me around this time last week, and it took him 10 seconds to blink on his test stream. And I was like, you've not even got the game open and it's doing this. Luckily, we've planned a plan B. Alice, can you get Adam in on your stream? Can we sort it out that way? And we got Alice all set up, and I think it actually worked better that way because you got a new dynamic to the playoffs, which was amazing, which was 2 people on a stream at once. it was just lovely.
And it was just such a lovely combination of people as well. Like it worked. So I think from the last playoffs, it's mad for me to even have to sit here and say that the best thing about it for me wasn't Steak Bake winning it, because I love Steaky. Steak Bake is wonderful. Steak Bake is good people. But that should be by far away the best thing and my favorite thing from the whole experience. But the fact that like just Adam and Alice together
Yeah.
Like it's the A team, it's the A&A connection. It's just such a wonder. Like it hadn't been done before, and it worked so well. I'm like, it's hard for that not to be the takeaway that this was the biggest success of that competition.
And it's like, I don't know, and it was something I said to Kev. It might have been actually on Network Save this week. Maybe that's the way they should go with the tag team championships. You have that. You just have one team, and you're alternating what you do with the managers, but you do that. It's almost like you do co-op mode on FIFA, which is really annoying all the time because the other person doesn't pass to you. It's like it's always that way. Never passes to you. Yeah, it's like you're basically like Cristiano Ronaldo every single time in the box, complaining that you've not been passed to. But but you shouldn't pass to him anyway because he's a piece of scum. Right. Anyway, so that was great. Maybe that's the way they go with it. But I think having that involved with the players, having a bit more say in it as well, and bringing in these new competitors, it's a lot of the work comes down on me as well, which I get frustrated with. But then sometimes I'm a bit of a control freak as well. I'm just like, well, no, you can't do that. I've got to do it because I know how to do it. And it is sometimes it does have to sit on me because it has to sit on this computer here that's not going to go on fire anytime soon, hopefully, if I click the right button. So
fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers. I mean, you've talked about some of the really, really great competitors that we've seen kind of come through the playoffs, and kind of, they've almost used it as a launch pad, as this is like, right, I'm now in the public forum, there are now eyes on me, and I'm actually really, really good at this. Who for you would be, if you could get anybody from FM community or just the wider world of football, who would you love to have on an FM playoffs that we haven't had before?
Well, punditry team needs to be the four of us. We need to get that to happen one time.
Yes.
Just so we can do the music and do all the stupid things and pretend it's a podcast. Obviously, that needs to be that way. I'd love Zealand in there, and I think it's a big ass now. Like, I think he is kind of tied to the showdown. We've had Ben on the panels, which has been great. We've had Jack and Kevin in there as well. And there's some people out there. I mean, we said about if we can get Cleary on it properly and then Cleary plays Alice, you've got another narrative to write there. But then get somebody like James Aldcott on as well. So he was in the showdown a few times. He does a load of football analysis. Have him versus Cleary. Even get like the TIFO guys involved as well. It's bringing all those like community people together, like the people that do a lot of YouTube content. I think that's where it was nice. Is there's a difference between Adam Cleary and Ian McIntosh. Ian McIntosh doesn't do YouTube content. He's done some bits of it, but he's done mainly audio content and obviously lots and lots and lots and lots of written content. So it didn't really like people knew he was, but they went to watch his stream when he did it once, but that was it. He didn't return to doing any streaming after that. But I think getting all those various football creators that we have out there, I think that would be amazing. I mean, you'll almost just have that full set of them. To have the 8 people that are in it are all like various real life football creators, but they know tactics, they know how to play the game, etc.
Yeah, there's such a wealth of people out there, and it's those crossovers. You talked about it in terms of people that and get to know online, and in terms of the wider world of content as well. It's those crossovers that I think people would be really, really interested in watching happen. And the playoffs it's a really good platform for it. It's a really good platform for it. It's incredible. I've talked about this all the time. I've talked about it on podcast. I've talked about it on stream before. My involvement with the playoffs has been going for a few years now in, different, just in participating or being on panels. I've done bits and pieces over the last couple of years, and I've loved it. But the improvement in the production value of the product over the last 18 months has been just nothing short of magnificent. I mean, pound for pound, it's visually, it's stunning. And that's all because it's all because of you. Like, really, it's that's a you thing. It looks amazing, and it's run brilliantly. And I think Tony's attitude towards we're making television like that it just seems like people that are working towards the same thing, working together, which again is always a wonderful thing to have. It all comes back to what we were saying earlier. You've said it. Your brain runs via. You are a logic-based human being, and the most valuable person in any room is the person that just understands what is supposed to be done and can facilitate that happening. Like, you can have the 10 most talented people at different aspects of what, you know, you can have 10 most individually talented people in the world in a room together, but without somebody to guide them and show them what needs doing, it's not going to work. And that's what you do ever so well. So it's been nice watching you do it as well. Like, you know, going from when we did that Path to the Playoffs where it was just the two of us, 4.5 hours in a very, very hot room, making a lot of puns about bands from Manchester, to where it is now. It's nothing short of magnificent. So it's been lovely to be a part of, and it's been really nice to watch you kind of grow with it, and you get significantly, especially on the on-camera stuff as well. Like you mentioned it earlier, presenting. Like, is that something that are you surprised by how much you enjoy that aspect of it?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's. I need to work. Like, it's one of those things where I want to work on what I say. I know I say like similar things a lot, and those things, and that exactly what I've just said there. It's those bits that I need to get away from, and it's with practice, and it is that talk to yourself a little bit more. It's getting just comfortable in that space, and I think it's having, and it's always important. Like, I probably couldn't do a playoffs panel with people that I don't know, so I've always got to have a Kev, a Sai, even yourself, just somebody that you can always, just in case, just bat off them. Or, right, I've got something to do very quickly here. Kev, you go through the fixtures. Sai, you go through the fixtures. Even pushing various like buttons and stuff like that. Just make sure we're on it. And I think it's just, you've always got that reliable sidekick, almost say, or that co-host that not really acknowledged, but and I think we had it with the playoffs last time. Tony went off completely. I just went, right, Kev, take over. And Kev took over immediately, just so naturally, and it just worked perfectly. He just started asking questions to Dupe about what was happening, etc. So and Bob as well. Bob, and I think we've actually got that formula quite nice, where you have like person who's the co-host, they're just straight down the middle, tell you everything that's going on. We'll get involved with a couple of debates and stuff like that. And then the other two, you can have somebody who's really, really analytical based, or you can just have two oddballs as well, which always works. Like, as we said, it's almost like you're part of that role, I guess. But then you've got Callum, you've got Lama that we've had. Then we had Bob last week, who was just throwing things out completely left field and just breaking everybody. It was like, what did you say there? I mean, my favourite part of Bob last week was when he commentated on a goal. I think it was Viking Dan versus Fletch, and it was going, it's equaliser for Fletch, and then went through the entire goal, and then Tony just went, actually, it's 2-0 to Viking Dan. So, or to Big Meaty. That's
Big Meaty.
Yeah,
Big Meaty now.
Yeah.
Big Meaty. I'm currently in the rebrand. My rebrand to Viking Dan. Yeah. So if you could just, not allowed to mention it until it's public, but it's the gears are in motion.
And it's that the presenter, like having that dad, you rely on the people that are around you, and like I do the jokey bits where I sing a song at the start of it. Granted, I think I've sang My Heart Will Go On 3 times now, and I've not realised it. Maybe I need to make a note of what I've actually sang. But it's like I said, I've enjoyed adding the jokey aspects to it. I've enjoyed, like, Lovely Stuff has now become some sort of trademark of mine, which then I realized Tony keeps saying it. I was like, say my thing. But then I realized it's just a phrase that everyone says.
It's just a phrase. Again, behind the curtain, I can't type Lovely Stuff in our Discord without putting a trademark symbol next to it. That's how committed to it I am. That's Jeb's thing now.
Made the wonderful emote with like my beard that says Lovely Stuff on it, but it's it's like, it's not my thing, but somehow it's become my thing. So there we are. And it's nice, and I don't know how far that goes. I don't know if it just becomes I'm just do Path to the Playoffs. I don't know if I do other shows. I don't know if I do. I've always wanted to do like a football type of show, but it's how those things come around and who gets involved with them. I've listened to 5 Live up and down the country every time I drive up and down, listening to the shows on there, and I always enjoy them. Like, I always enjoy Chappers, Steve Crossland, and then like Matt Pugach and all the people beforehand, Kelly Cates, and I just enjoy that presenting style. Colin Murray's like one of my favourite ever for sports, and it's such a shame that he moved away from it. And like when he got Match of the Day too, I was like, this is going to be amazing. And the pundit's just like, oh, no, too much jokey stuff. But he's just got that perfect combination of stuff. But I don't think I'll ever go that far, but it's like if we could do a football show or something like that, we do it on Twitch maybe. I think we even said about even doing like the podcast we do once a month. We just get together and have a chat about something. It doesn't have to be about Football Manager every single time, but it's maybe something along those lines. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be a shame if you didn't get to explore the possibility of doing more things with it, because it's something that you are dead good at. Testament being, I was away a couple of weeks ago, and the boys recorded a podcast without me, and Jeb did an annoyingly good job of hosting it. Frustratingly good.
It's this week because we're doing a job with Rainbow Six at the minute, so I'm not on the podcast next week because the Rainbow Six finals next week in our studio, and they've done like a quiz where they've asked all the players and stuff, and they basically I got a message off the guy who was video editing. He goes, "Can you just read out all the questions for me and record them?" I was like, "Okay, fine." Then can you read out these lines as well, just in case? And then can you just do a couple of correct? No, I'm afraid you got that wrong. Ooh, nearly. No, that's not correct. Ooh, well done. Ding, ding, ding. That's correct. And so I did all that, and then lo and behold, I've ended up on the broadcast like 3 times this week because I placed these quiz segments and it's me asking the questions. So it's like, cool. I'm like, now into that one. So we'll see.
It's just how it happens. It's organically. It's how all these things happen. I mean, there's one more thing I think that we should probably have a brief conversation about. Because as I say, we've touched upon, you work with the playoffs, how you got to where you want, we understand you a little bit better as a human being now, I think. But there's one thing we should probably have a little bit of a chat about before we go. And in fairness, it came up last week, given some of the content that we were talking about last week. Liverpool FC, Jeb, they are the team that you support. That's just a statement. It's a statement of fact. Can't change it. They are the team that you support. Good night, everybody. We smashed it.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. So, talk to us about Liverpool. Where did that come from? Is that like a family-based thing, or is it just a hey, they'll do?
Well, I don't get this accent from nowhere. So both my parents are from Liverpool. Obviously, full family, apart from my sisters, are from Liverpool as well. So we were born down in Great Yarmouth because my dad worked out on gas rigs out the North Sea. I think that's where it is. Yeah. Yes, I'm trying to remember which side of the North Sea's on. And then we moved up to Morecambe because he was in the Irish Sea, like on the Morecambe Bay gas rigs out there. So that's where that was. But all the family from Liverpool. My dad is an Evertonian. My mum's a Liverpool fan. My dad worked away 2 weeks out of every 4. So my mum brought me up as a Liverpool fan. That's pretty much how it happened. So, and like my grandparents on my dad's side are obviously all big Everton fans as well. So that's where that Liverpool love came from. There was a brief period when I was about 6 where I was a Man United fan. I know. For about like 2 weeks, then I gave up, and then went back to Liverpool.
More bombshells.
Exactly.
We promised them today, and here they are. It's 38 years old and used to support United. Honestly,
yes. I think it was about 2 weeks, but I'm still reminded of it, like by all family members, like when there's gatherings and stuff. And I'm thoroughly ashamed of it. I mean, it's a hideous thing to do. So yeah, that's where that came from. The FA Cup final when we won in '92 was on my birthday, which was lovely. The FA Cup final we won in 2005 was also my birthday. And actually, the FA Cup final win when Michael Owen, I think that was my birthday party, was that night. I remember that, when he scored 2.
Perfect.
But I couldn't stand Michael Owen. I really couldn't. This is before he joined Man United. I couldn't stand Michael Owen because he took Robbie Fowler's place. And Robbie Fowler was God, and that's all that was. So I was fine with.
How dare you stand where he stood? Yeah,
exactly. And he also forced Stan Collymore out of the club, and Stan Collymore was amazing for us for that one season. But yeah, it's probably for the best anyway, considering what he did afterwards. But anyway,
he would never. Had that never happened, Stan Collymore would never have gone on to have a cameo in Basic Instinct 2.
True.
There you go. These are the kind of football facts you get on this podcast. I will guarantee you there are now people listening to this going, there was a Basic Instinct 2. And then there are people going, Stan Collymore was in it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he crosses his legs very seductively in an interview room. It's terrible business.
Yeah, so that's where the love of Liverpool came, and it's kind of never really gone away. There've been testing times. I mean, Roy Hodgson, that was a testing time. Oh, who you signed? Well, Paul Konchesky. Is that all right? No. What about Milan? What was his name? Milan Jovanovic.
Oh, the winger.
Yeah, the one who
the Serbian winger.
Yeah, the one who went for a diving header and missed. Like,
yes,
just face planted the floor. Yeah, like those impactful signings that we made. And there was like, I don't know. I've been through a few where it's just been we had so many false dawns. Like, I remember when we signed Robbie Keane, I was so excited about having Torres, Keane, Gerrard as almost like our front three would have been amazing, but they didn't get played, so that didn't happen. There was obviously the season where that was when I was working at the bar in Birmingham, so I'd sneak off whenever there was a Liverpool game on. I still remember going to the Man City game where Coutinho scored at the end, and it was 3-2, but Henderson got sent off, so he missed those last 3 games, and that's probably why we actually lost the title, not the Gerrard slip. It did contribute towards it, but there was no one to back up. And yeah, I've been through a lot of trials and tribulations. I've seen a lot of wins. I mean, the Champions League 2005 is still one of my favourite ever nights out ever. Don't remember anything after the trophy lift, but it was a great night. It was in Manchester as well, so it was even better. So it was. I still remember my favourite part was I was with my friend Sam, who I was at uni with, and when Alonso missed the penalty, like he went, oh, and his glasses fell off. So he went to pick his glasses up off the floor, and he just turned around to me and Alonso, obviously hitting the rebound, just saw me just going mental. It was just one of those little memories that you always remember, just somebody turning around, and you just realised what had happened. And I think as that penalty went in, somebody on the balcony of whatever yellow card pub we were in at that time was just smashed his pint glass and tried to throw it on all the people below that were celebrating because, you know, bitter Manx, but there we are.
Well, what an absolute treat. I mean, would you say in your, it feels weird saying it, in your, 38 years, most of those bar a couple of weeks as a United fan, would you say this kind of modern Liverpool side are the best you've ever seen in terms of, within the context of Liverpool?
I'd probably say yes, but there's an argument for like the 2002, 2008, 2009 when you had Gerrard, Mascherano and Alonso in midfield, then feeding balls to Torres. Like Torres in his pomp was one of the greatest ever strikers. And then we made a very wise decision of selling him to Chelsea because he kind of gone a bit. Granted, you have a Champions League win, but still. There were, if you bear in mind, Torres and Suarez were together at the same club for one day, and it could have been longer if we'd not sold him. Instead we bought Andy Carroll, and like Andy Carroll did all right for us. He just didn't get used and got injured a bit. But yeah, I'd probably say so. I think probably a couple of years ago was we were at our pomp, but then I'm excited about this midfield again now, and it's nice to see Salah as well. Salah's now turned into like a leader. There's rumours of him going to Saudi Arabia, and I think Saudi Arabia is a really difficult thing for me now because it's obviously some of my favourite ever players have all gone there and ruined the legacy and things like that. Salah can understand more, and a little bit with Mane as well, is because they are Muslim and they are going to a massive, obviously, Muslim country, and it's like sticking with the religion and stuff. Obviously, there's so much wrong with Saudi Arabia, but you can understand a little bit more. And then you also know with Mane, he's going to probably build about 4 new villages in Senegal with the money that he's making because the way he gives back to people. But yeah, like Henderson, I was at a point with Henderson where Henderson was my favourite ever captain of Liverpool. He was bigger than Gerrard. He just had everything about him. He's a leader on the pitch. Like the pandemic showed more than anything how much of a leader he was. Because if you watched any of those games where there was no crowd, the only person you could hear for most of the game was Henderson just screaming at everyone. Same with England games as well. You can only hear Henderson screaming at everyone when he plays. Like Harry Kane's captain, and he's not saying anything. I was like, how does this work? How does this not happen? But yeah, he's gone and done that. And obviously his backing for the LGBTQ plus community that he did was amazing. And then he's just kind of thrown it all away. And that was really, really difficult to take. I thought this season might have been a really good season for him just to develop, and he wouldn't have played as much, but he'd still be captain. He's the leader by example. But screw him. Like, honestly, you've thrown away everything by just going and doing that and just completing. And I think the worst part is just being completely silent on it. No apologies, no, I've done this, but I'll give half my salary to charities, or something, like even just even a token amount of his salary to charities just to counteract it. Just nothing. Absolutely nothing. He's just been silenced, and he's gone over there and just kind of ruined everything. So
it's the silence that's the worst bit, really, isn't it? Because there's so much of an opportunity to talk about, just be open, honest, talk about it, and even if it had been for absolutely abysmal reasons, then at least Yeah. But it's the silence. The silence is so much louder, and it is it is incredibly disappointing.
It's it's Gerard's kind of ruined his managerial career because he could have easily taken a championship job and just worked his way back. But he's gone for that. Robbie Fowler's gone to the second division. I was just like, why are you doing that? Like, it was just like he has a successful Liverpool podcast. He's obviously owns. He doesn't need the money. He owns half of Manchester, so it's almost like he doesn't with all the investments that he's made. I know he needs to improve his managerial career and his prowess, and he wants to do that, but don't go there. Firmino as well. Like Firmino, I think Firmino and Alisson were talked about recently. They're really heavily Catholic Christian. That makes no sense when they're going over there, but other than money, and I don't think Alisson will, but who knows?
That's the thing, isn't it? At the end of the day, money is a incredibly powerful motivator, and you're offering people more money than they have ever. And these, I'm in saying this as well. This is taking into account the wage that they would have been on as high level professional footballers in the Premier League. It's money they never could have dreamed of. Like it's such an astronomical amount of money. But just talk about it. Just be open. But at least be honest about it with the people that are invested in you, your career, your time, the things that you stand for, or in some cases don't. Just have that open and honest conversation with people, because at least then they know. Flipping it around, I suppose, aside from massive disappointing Liverpool players, if you had to give me your 3 favorite Liverpool players of all time, don't necessarily have to be the best Liverpool players, but your 3 favorite Liverpool players.
It's difficult now because that's what I mean. It's like,
I've just put you on the spot.
No, yeah, I was going to say, if you'd asked me like 2 months ago, it would have been Fowler, Henderson, and then Firmino / Gerrard. I mean, like I went to one of the things with I went to a derby, and I sat in the Anfield Road end with my dad. So we did the Liverpool derby the proper way, where you sit next to an Everton fan, and Gerrard scored a hat trick there. It was great. We had to stand up because we're in the Anfield Road end, where you have to stand up for the whole thing to see the game. He just sat down for the rest of the second half. So we're watching this, which I obviously took immense joy out of at the time. But yeah, it's like those players are great, but they kind of they've kind of got to disappear. Like, it's amazing memories, but they've kind of ruined those legacies. So if we go the other way, Torres. Granted, he left. He went to Chelsea, but like he was amazing. Like for those 3-4 seasons, unbelievable. Like striker. You think of the goals that he scored. You think of Nemanja Vidic. How anytime he played Nemanja Vidic, he just destroyed him. Like it was just like a weird like bogey thing. Like, I'm going to get sent off, or he's going to score a hat trick against me, or one or the other. Torres was replaced by Suarez. Suarez for the 2 seasons that we had. Okay, he did his bitey things, and he's done various other bad things, but it was just a delight to watch. And still to this day, I've never seen Salah almost a little bit, but I've never seen a player like Suarez with the ball. He could just wriggle out of absolutely anything and just get into the best positions. I think that season where he scored like 40 goals. And he laid on God knows how many for Sturridge and for Sterling as well. It was just amazing to watch. And then it's got to be Salah. Like, it's just been a joy, an absolute joy to watch. I love like Robbo and Trent as well. I mean, Trent's frustrating because his lack of defending, but then everything else about him is great. yeah, Salah's just been a joy to watch, and I think it's that development of Salah. Like, he's 30 now. They have this leadership group at Liverpool. He's now in that leadership, and he's been showing it for like the past few seasons. It's quite nice to see him get Harvey Elliott and some of the young players, like, give him a little hug, give him a little talking to, do this, and this. So yeah, and then just the goals that he scores. I mean, last season, I think that period where he scored, was it against City one week, and then he scored it was the season before against City one week. He scored like the best goal of the season. And the next season plays Watford, and he scored the goal of the season again. Like, just where he wriggled past everyone and scored an amazing goal. So yeah, they're probably top three where I am. There's loads of like also rounds. I mean, even just like people that nobody else could stand from outside the club, like Lucas, Dirk Kuyt, like just horrible players to play against, but actually valued so much by the club. I think Henderson was a little bit that way. They're just like, they just run around a lot. I was like, yeah, they run around a lot, but they make an impact on the game when they're not playing. You notice it. So, so there we are.
Dirk Kuyt's a great shout. Yeah. Great shout. He
scored a hat trick from 6 yards, like a combination of 6 yards against Man United.
Oh, what a player! What a player! What a horrible, wet hair gel, crusty-looking trim he used to sport for quite a lot of his career. That horrible centre parting that I'm going bold, but I'm still going to part it down the middle.
Yeah, and it's just so greasy, so greasy,
but
horrible.
Yeah, but it doesn't move when he runs as well.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect!
And
absolutely perfect.
Like as Liverpool with Football Manager, I've hardly ever touched them. Like since my early days when I used to play with them. So Championship Manager 2, I used to get them, sign various players, do all right with them. I did a save. It might have been 2019, and the only player I signed was Solomon Rondon. Was the only player I signed when he was at West Brom. And Solomon Rondon, and I signed a keeper because we had Mignolet in net, so it might be a little bit earlier then. So we had Mignolet in net, so I had to replace the keeper. So I think I signed Timo Horn and Solomon Rondon. And in my first season, I won everything. Like Rondon got 25 goals. Timo Horn kept 30 clean sheets, and that's all it needed. That squad, even though defense was awful. It's before Van Dijk, and it wasn't awful, but it wasn't great. Yeah, but all it took was those two signings, and I won everything. I remember in the Champions League final, and Rondon scores a winner. I'm just like, okay, cool.
Yeah. World beaters. That's all it takes. Listen up. Yeah. Football managers, sign Solomon Rondon and you're going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. Well, I don't know about you. I feel like I know you even more than I did an hour and a half ago.
That's nice.
I knew most of these things before anyway. I'm not. I didn't say it was a good thing. I just say I feel like I know you more. Yeah. Prejudices.
You know that I'm a liar. That's what it is. So.
Yeah, I know you're a lying United fan who was once ousted by a Tom Clancy game. So it's one of those things. There we go. I have had a really, really nice time talking to you, pal. Shockingly enough, who would have thought it? But I think that's probably, I don't know about you, mate, but I reckon that's probably a podcast.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Why not?
I think it feels about right, doesn't it? It feels about right. Before we go, if people would like to watch you making the content that you make, where can they find you doing so?
I'm not here this week, so twitch.tv/the United City FM from 3 till 5 p.m. You can find our good friend Kev streaming also during this week, probably during the daytime as well. Twitch.tv/YCallum, where you can find him make some excellent content. Ask him to play some of the Declan Moore songs, because apparently I might have recorded, I counted them earlier, 9 of them. I don't know why. and I'm probably going to record more this week when I'm bored as well, so we'll see how we are. It's just I come up with a silly song idea, I sing it, and I just send it to him. Don't do any editing on it. It's just done. There you go. Have that. You've got a song. Current songs that I've used so far include the Witch Doctor song. I tell you what was Spice Girls? Tell you what you want. Is that Spice Girls' first song that was used?
That is.
Yeah. Britney Spears. Yeah, that's been used as well. There's a few others out there as well. That's the way. I like it. Yeah, that's in there as well. So all the songs. You might play them out. But yeah, go watch them because I'm not around this week. So
There you go. Watch Kev, watch Callum, and then you can experience Jeb vicariously through Callum's stream. There you go. You'll hear his beautiful voice. You'll know it's him because it sounds like him. In some cases, with his voice through the modulator.
Yeah, it's definitely all through modulators. It's definitely not.
You'll know though. You'll know when it happens. You'll absolutely know when it happens. Lovely stuff. Trademark.
What about you, Rich?
Who cares about me? Twitch.tv/Rich Owens FM. Scandinavia. It's going okay. We'll talk more Scandinavia next week when the guys are back. We do a proper save update because it's definitely my turn. And at least 3 things have happened. At least 3. There you go. Well, thank you, Jeb, for today. It's been absolutely lovely. And thank you, audience members, for listening or watching or however you are consuming this podcast. If you're watching it on YouTube, press the little thumbs up and like it. Let us know we did a great job. Press the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Do those things. Bookmark us on all your podcasting platforms. Do all of those things because we like making podcasts and hopefully you like listening to them too. We will see you on the next episode of Football Manager Therapy. Take care. Love you lots. Bye-bye.
Bye.